Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. And folks, buckle up. Buckle up. The freight train is coming through. All right. Folks, we're going to have a great time today. I'm extremely excited to introduce our guest today. And, well, straight up, she's a badass. All right. So get ready, folks. Check it out. She's the founder and CEO of Titanium Capital Solutions, Titanium Business Solutions, and Ateamamy. All right. You can check her out online at profitswithateamamy.com, titaniumsolutions.com, and on social media on Instagram at Ateamamy, at Titanium Capital Solutions, and on Facebook at Amy Mauk. Folks, give it up for the lady herself, Amy Mauk. How we doing, Amy?
I am doing so great, Nick. Thank you so much for having me here. I got to give it right back to you. I love the studio. I love your podcast. I love watching all your episodes. Like I get so much out of every single one of them. And I'm very blessed and thankful to be here. And I appreciate you having me on this show today. And I got to give it right back to you, man. I'm super blessed and excited to be here.
Boom. That's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. We're already off to a hot start, folks. All right. So Amy, check it out. I've known you for a long time. And the one thing, like if somebody said, Nick, what's the one word that would best describe Amy Mauk? I would say a winner. All right. So I want to now, and that's what you're doing now with helping people win, right? Mm-hmm. With finance, with money, lending, all those things, right? So I want to come right out of the gate swinging. All right. What's probably the biggest mistake people make when they come to you to solve their problems?
The biggest mistake is not planning ahead. They come when they need the money. They come, I need money right now. And it doesn't work that way in most cases, unless you've done your own due diligence and you've done a proper, structuring of your own credit profile and you understand how money and credit really work for you. It doesn't work that way. You can't just show up and be like, I want money. And then your score is a 660 and you think it's okay. There's a lot to it. And so I would say that's probably the biggest mistake that I see most people coming is just not truly searching out ahead of time. And then what happens is they end up taking whatever that they can get at that moment. And then they put themselves in debt because they get high interest rates or really bad loans or bad terms. And it doesn't matter to them at that point because they need the money right now. So instead of planning ahead, now they've got this high interest loan or these really high payments that end up putting them in a mountain of debt that causes more issues in the future.
So let me get this straight. All right. I'm gonna talk about it in with like, cause you're an expert, like, dude, I'm still learning about money. I'm still learning about money. It's hard to have a lot of something that you don't understand,
Exactly.
So, but what I do understand is what you're talking about is when people are coming and they're needing money, right? So they're needing an investment of some sort or a credit line, which is another form of an investment. And so, like for somebody to want to, a person or an entity or whatever it may be, to want to give you access to their money for you to use, you're going to pay that back and that person's going to make money on their money, right? So when somebody comes to you same day, that obviously shows that they don't necessarily understand the money. So that would obviously say that person's probably not a great investment at the same time. Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like a report card. If you think about it like that, to put it in, the best layman terms as possible, that's exactly right. Think about it like a report card. So you're in school, you go and you do your best to get good grades, right? So you have, on a credit profile, it's the same way. You want to make sure that you are, that you have one address on there, that you have no late payments. And so all these things matter when it comes to making sure that you have your credit profile together. So people will, fall behind on a payment or whatever, but not call the creditor and ask for forgiveness because they didn't know that they could. Or there's a lot of things that they can do if they understand how the credit works, kind of like our credit reports in high school or I'm sorry, not our credit reports, but our report cards.
Right.
You get good grades. You get good grades because you study and you understand it and you do your homework. It's the same thing with your credit. If you just study and understand how it works and you do your homework to make sure that you don't let that one payment late. There's tricks and things that you can do to hide utilization. Okay. There's things that you can do that will literally help you keep a good grade on your credit report as well.
So one of the best things people can do to make sure that they are, let's just say, investable, would be to make sure they know what their track record and patterns are showing, right? So again, colleges are going to look at some test scores and 13 years of grades if they want to go back that far, right?
Yep.
So what you're saying is very similar when asking for money, credit lines, or whatever else may be, right?
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're going to the banks.
So I wonder why, like, for me, like I know, my wife and I we've bought 2 homes since 2017. Both times it was months of getting the financial stuff set, the mortgages and everything set up based on down payments and everything else that was going on, inspections, all these things took months each time. And, but it's funny, I'll get a letter in the mail that says, "Hey, Nick, you're pre-approved for a $10,000 credit card." The timeline is just, I can understand why people might get confused because they're just getting what they think is thrown money at them left and right. But even when they get the credit card thing, you'll say, "Yeah, I want it." Right. And then what happens?
Well, so the same thing is, the issue is like, if you take that one credit card, they're going to probably give you that one credit card. But what people don't realize is once that one credit card hits your credit profile, you're probably going to be stuck with just that one credit card for a little while. So what we do is we help people understand what's called, there's rounds of funding that you can actually do this all at once to where you can get yourself $100,000 to $200,000 and fundable use of credit lines that you can use all at once. So when you take that one credit card that you get the offer on, you get approved, you're like, yes, I just got a $5,000 credit limit, right? Well, that $5,000 credit limit is all you have. And now that $5,000 credit limit, that might sound like a lot to some people, but in all honesty, there's a lot bigger and better ways to actually do that and structure it. But it hits your credit profile. Now you have an inquiry. You have a new account that now is reporting on your credit bureau. So when you go to apply for another credit card behind that, they're going to see, oh no, you just got one at 5,000. So we want to wait and see how you're going to use that one and how you're going to make your payments. So you're going to be waiting maybe 3 months before you can potentially get another one. And so if you just properly prepare and we set up that structure of that credit profile and we do a round all at once for a round of funding, then we're able to access, $100,000 or $200,000 and unsecured funds that we then teach people to take and invest so they can get 5% back on that.
It's knowledge is so powerful. Like, you know what I mean? And it literally, like, knowledge or lack thereof is costing people money left and right. And they, a lot of the money it might be costing them will be in those interest points, right? And all those things. So, all right, we're gonna really get into the weeds on some of this stuff and one of the cool things that's happening today is my son's over here off camera, and this is probably one of the most important episodes he could listen to, right? Because as a young budding teenager who turns 16 before long, he's going to be doing a lot of things out on his own. There's going to be this thing in his back pocket called a wallet. And in that wallet is going to be a lot of money or not very much.
Absolutely. And I stress now, I wish I would have started this sooner. I've been doing this particular field now for the last 5-6 years. And if there was one thing that I wish I would have knew this myself sooner, starting in high school and at his age and my kid's age. And so I definitely encourage parents right now, start teaching your kids young about money. They do not teach us in school. It's knowledge that's going to make them either successful right out the gate or fail out right out the gate. And it's a perfect example. I've got family members that were not educated on this right now, and their credit scores in their early 20s are already shot because they didn't understand.
That's right. Right. And it's, I used to think how much money I had was how much was in a bank account, and I didn't consider, like, when we bought our first home and we had equity in it and you can leverage that. And there's so many things, like, again, money's money, and I just thought it was what was in my pocket. And it turns out a lot of us have lots of different types of money and sources of money. And man, when you can figure out how to leverage those things, and even like, even create good debt that cash flows positive. Like we're going to get into all this, folks. It's going to be a good ass time. You ready?
Yeah, I'm so
All right.
ready. Like there's so much knowledge that people really need to know that's going to maybe probably blow some people away when they're like, well, you can do that? Yes, you can. You just got to know how.
That's right. And I want to one more little thing before we get into like her story and kind of how she got here, because it's unbelievable. There's a statistic that is it's 98 or 99% of all startups fail, right? So when a business fails, it failed financially, period, which means the owners usually got a mess to clean up, right? So true or false, it's better to make those mistakes early versus later in life.
Absolutely, 100%. Hurry up and just get it over with. Just go fall on your face until you make it. Yeah.
As parents, like we try to protect our kids so they don't go into debt when like at the end of the day, they're going to do it at some point in time. It's like, just get it over with, learn so you can move on type thing, And like the last time that Rhiannon and I really like learned some tough financial lessons, we were in our 30s, dude, but like when we started learning about basically just becoming financially literate and understanding all the different types of income. And I love Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant and all those things. Like when you started learning about those things, we started realizing that we had there was an abundance of money everywhere around us, and we just didn't know where it was or how to spot it or use it. Right. So it's never too late, but man, like what we learned in our 30s, had we have learned those in our 20s, where would we be at today?
Yep.
So it's a big deal. Now, Ethan, I'm gonna have some fun with you today. You ready? You get that. All right. So I want you to think of one good question to ask Miss Amy at the end of this, because hopefully she won't send you an invoice. She's expensive for this knowledge, right? So, but I'm going to let you ask her a question from a teenager's point of view. All right. And he's read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the teenage version and the adult version.
That's awesome. Keep doing that.
And he's on payroll here. He's earning money, right?
I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. So, all right, Amy, I said in the beginning when I introduced you, if I had one word to describe you, it'd be a winner. All right. So when I met you, it was in the world of insurance, where you lit the whole entire country on fire for years, but you had come from the Yellow Pages where you'd lit their world on fire. And now you're lighting a whole nother world on fire. And I got to say, I want to talk about some of the stories of that you overcame in insurance, in the world of real estate and office stuff and all those things that you just, again, you learned a lot of tough lessons, right? So let's you've been winning for at least 25 years.
Yeah.
Let's give them a 30,000 foot view about getting into, because again, you've been killing it in sales, leadership, and business development. So let's give it to them.
Okay. I mean, well, I guess I will start where it really started. It started on the farm. I grew up as a farm girl. And my dad had me picking rock in the field I remember age 14, 15. And, I had to take care of the animals all day long. And he made us very disciplined on the farm. And that was just the way that I was raised. And so, I started, and we had to I had to start working when I was 16 and get a job. And, but I always had that burning fire to win. And so I was very competitive, even in school. No matter whatever fundraiser was going on, I was literally knocking on the doors to be the number one in the whole school, that I could sell the most pizzas. So it really started there. And so then I left home and went to college, and I worked 3 jobs and went to school at the same time, and still just trying to, figure it out in my young age. I bought my first house at 22, and
I didn't know that.
I did. Yep. I bought a house at 22. And then I was working 3 jobs and going to school at the same time. And then I just kind of, I got my first Jeep, and then I started excelling as I started working at State Farm Insurance for a little while. I worked at Verizon Wireless. And so Verizon Wireless was really one of the initial, I guess, real, I made $100,000 a year.
At Verizon?
At Verizon, because I was top sales. I was selling some phones. I was making, in my young 20s, making 80. I mean, I think I got up to 100 because I was there for a few years. But at the beginning, I was making 60. But for a young person, it was good, right? So I started at State Farm, went into Verizon. And then from there was a time, of course, I was in my 20s, right? So then I started bartending, and I started getting into a lot of fun stuff at the same time, which was fun. But I always stayed on task. Like the goal was to figure out how to win, how to make sure everything always was paid, how I could, get to the next level. And so I did have some fumbles in my middle 20s where after I left Verizon, I decided to jump out in the entrepreneur world and start doing like selling some signs, and I tried a few different things. I worked for a debt collection company for a little while where I was going out and collecting bad debt. I did a telecommunication company where I was going in and selling telecommunication services. And
how much did the collecting debt help you with what you're doing today? Like something that happened so long ago.
Yeah, it was, so we were going out and I was going into big, large companies and selling a program to collect their bad debt for them. So they had to pay me money to go collect bad money that was already written off. So it was definitely a hard sale. But I did learn a lot from that because we would see like these companies that had, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt that people just didn't pay, but they had written it off. So at that point, we're coming in as a debt collection company trying to be like, hey, let us buy all that bad debt. We're going to go to get collected for you. And I was paid off of a commission on that.
Wow.
And so that kind of, stemmed a little bit more. And then, I was living in Ohio at the time, and the kids I had just gotten, at 27 is when I got pregnant, and then started, getting into having children. And one of the things was I didn't want the children to grow up at school in in Ohio. We were living in a place called Lima, Ohio. Not a great area. Really didn't want the kids to go to school there. And so one of our things was we got to go find somewhere where they can go to school. And so that's when I was working at the radio station at this point. I was working for Maverick Media radio station in Lima, which was an awesome career as well. And I did remote sales. So I did radio advertising sales. I was very good at that as well. And I did a lot of remotes and a lot of events. And that was a lot of fun. And I loved that job. Still have a lot of great relationships from that. But when we decided to move, I quit that. I quit and we literally uprooted everything and moved to Tennessee. And with no job, no really real place to live. We were just like, next place that says yes, we're coming in.
Yeah.
And so we come down and I was desperately looking for a job, knowing that I could land something eventually. And then that's when I found the Yellow Pages. And so I'm thankful for the Yellow Pages as well, because it really taught me Nashville. Because at the Yellow Pages, I had to drive all around Nashville and go into different companies, and I was selling Yellow Page advertising sales.
This is before like the data explosion, when you could use data to market and kind of eliminate windshield time.
Yeah, the big thing then was banner ads. That's when it was. So I was there, and we were still Yellow Pages was still relevant. So we were selling Yellow Page ads, and I was selling banner ads. But I would go out and sell like big companies. And so like 1 Hour Heating and Air was one of my that was one of my clients. Yeah. And so I helped them redo all their brand. And so marketing and advertising. So I really got into that. And I was there for about 4 years, excelled, went into moved up that company as well.
You made good money there.
I did make good money there. I was making over $100,000 a year. And so I was used to making good money, which $100,000 at that point was good money, right? It's good money for anybody, really. It's good money. But at the same time, like things started changing because it was corporate America, right? And so with corporate, for me personally, and my experiences with corporate is there's so many like just rules and like you got to take your time off, your time in. And like, I just didn't like all the changes that were always happening. And they were bringing other people in, and they were restructuring the company. And it was just kind of a time where I was like, all right, I got to exit this.
Media was changing drastically then. And I mean, literally like the Yellow Pages, if you don't know, folks, that was originally like the Yellow Pages phone book. It was a book of pages.
Yes. And that we actually sold that. We had to go out and sell ads in that when I was there. But yeah, a lot of things were changing, and I was just like, man, I had that feeling of I got to get out. I got to get out. And so I was looking for something desperately. And that is when I found the insurance. And I had done insurance in my early 20s working for State Farm Insurance got my license when I was 20 years old and had done that under an agent for a couple years.
Yeah.
So I had a little experience with it, but didn't really want to do that. Like I was not like, hey, I want to grow up and sell health insurance for, or insurance of any sort.
Yeah, nobody says that on earth.
I don't want to, I want to go sell health insurance or insurance for the rest of my life. Like that's not a thing.
Do you remember you ever heard the Tom Brady story about insurance? So he's he got drafted in the 6th round. All right. So the 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, he ain't got drafted yet. He's sitting at home waiting on them to see it on TV that they drafted him. And he was like, dude, the 6th round came. He says this in the documentary. He's like, the 6th round came, and I'm like, man, this ain't going to happen. I'm going to end up like, selling insurance or something. He's like, it was something horrible. And like, so nobody.
That's funny.
Except for my son over here. When he was younger, he might have stood up on career day and said, when I grow up, I'm going to be in insurance because that's what dad was doing. But
my son just said that the other day, actually.
Did he really?
Yeah, he's like, Mom, I think I want to do health insurance. I want to do insurance. I'm like, I'll get you hooked up, bud.
That's right.
I will get you hooked up.
I want to thank all of our loyal fans that spread across all 50 states and 14 different countries. It's absolutely amazing. Folks, help us keep spreading the word, right? Share your favorite episodes with friends and make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the Hitstreak on all digital platforms. Thanks again, and we look forward to more.
You killed it in insurance, and you had at your peak in that industry, you were doing tens of millions of dollars every single year. You were launching hundreds of agencies. Like what was like some of the things I learned the most because that's where I met you. We were in the same company.
Yep.
Is I learned how to do all the ways to like fix everything. Like, because you're dealing with so many startup problems all the time. And there's always, you realize that every business has a marketing problem, and that's one of the first things you're trying to solve. On top of teaching these people what it is you do and how to do those things, I learned so much about leadership. There was some great leadership at the top of that company. What was some of the biggest things that you learned that you're using today in those? How many years was it? Was it 5, 6? How many years was it in insurance?
I was there for 8 years.
8 years. That's that's a career, man. What was some of the biggest lessons you learned doing that?
I definitely learned, I'd say one of the biggest lessons learned, is teamwork really is very important. And so, to grow an agency at the level that I did, you have to have other people that are there with you. And so, understanding and continuing self-development and learning and building others and teaching people how to build themselves is really important to help them understand the mindset that's going to take to get them to the next level.
Yeah.
And so that was probably, working with every single individual that came through that agency on literally a personal level. I understood and saw so many different like mindsets, and it was always like, trying to instill that hope and that inspiration to let them know that, look, it has been done before. And because it's been done before, that means you can do it too. And so because I know that you can do it, because I did it and he did it and he did it, it's all right here. And so every level for me was like, it was almost a challenge to really make people feel like they can do this.
Yeah.
Because I wanted people to be so successful that I wanted to just like take that passion that I had, sometimes more than what they had for themselves.
Yeah.
And I would give them, whatever I could to help them do that. And so I would say for me, the answer to that is really just, understanding that teamwork and people really and understanding and caring. That's how you grow.
Yeah. I mean, it's when you deal with as many people and all the different, I'll just say shapes and sizes and things, because everybody came in with a different background. Some people came in with a wallet that was busting open full of money, and some people came in without a wallet.
Yeah.
And I love the quote, "Life is fair, everybody's price is just different," because that was like the perfect case. Everybody was trying to get to the same place, but they all started in different places, right? So I talk about this a lot. There was a video on YouTube that years ago, I would say, no, I won't say on YouTube, I'll say it was on the internet. And I loved it because basically it had all these teenagers, a few dozen of them, and they were going to have a race, and they put them all on the starting line. They're like, now, before we start the race, I'm going to ask some questions. And if your answer is yes, I want you to take 2 steps forward. And one of the first questions was like, if you grew up and you had both your parents in the house, and they would take 2 steps forward. If you grew up and there was always a meal on the table, you always knew where your next meal was coming from, take 2 steps forward. And you started to see all those other kids that got left behind type thing. But guess what? They still had to win. They were still trying to win that race. They were starting further back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We just did an exercise like that in an event in Cabo not too long ago, where we actually did a very similar, just like that, where you could, everybody stood up and sat down. It's a very interesting, experiment to do, just to see and understand the differences of where everybody comes from. And you're exactly right. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, what path are you getting there?
I think a lot of times we mistake, like fair is like life is fair. Everybody's price is different. Life is fair because you have the freedom to make choices, right? So fair isn't necessarily, like the same. Like it is the same, but it's not like, it's based on a certain set of principles, right? So it's not based on, well, he got that and they got that. We can't give everybody the same thing. Everybody's needs are different and so on and so forth. So I think that's such a powerful thing. And I think that that's so incredibly important to what we're talking about when it comes to money, because like, again, we could say the same thing. We're all starting on a race. And if you ever got a credit card and didn't make payments on it on time, take 2 steps forward or whatever it may be.
Exactly.
Or if you've always had a credit card and you've never had a late payment, and you don't have any debt, take steps forward. And going back to the original exercise, those kids didn't have control over those things. But imagine if we took ownership of all the mistakes we made in finance along the way, because like Nick Hyder has made enough for a village.
Well, listen, I've made enough for 2 villages, so we're in the same boat with that. So
That's
I
right.
totally understand.
Well, it just goes to show that like we're all starting in different places. We're trying to instill good habits in him at an early age. As parents, Bruce Lee said it. He said, instead of trying to give your kids all the things you didn't have, give them the information that you didn't get. Right. And maybe my parents didn't have, it was a different world when I was growing up 40 years ago.
Right.
Than we live in today. And, maybe the things that they were teaching me, there were a higher priority, because maybe Nick started out, maybe Nick was messed up a little bit at the back end or something, but like, maybe they just, they were too busy fixing so many other things that we didn't get to the finance part. But man, like, there was about a 10, 15 year stretch there where money just whooped my behind all day, every day. And I didn't know how to stop it. And that was extremely hard. So as a dad with him, we're trying, Rhiannon and I made a commitment to ourselves. We were both raised very similar when it came to money. We didn't want for much. Okay. And like, I never really if I remember one time I was so dumb. My first job was at an electric shop, and I had my wallet, and I remember it was right after Christmas, and all my money that year was for Christmas. So I'm driving at this point. So I'm at least 16. I carried $1,000 cash in my wallet like a dummy. All right. And I literally went to the bathroom at work and sat down. And when I stood up and pulled my pants up, my wallet was on the floor the whole time, and I never knew. And I left without it. $1,000, all my money.
That
all right.
made you sick.
It happened again. I laid cash on a tape. My dad loves this story. I laid cash on the table outside to play a basketball game. It blew away. I did some dumb stuff, right?
I just drive down the interstate and throw it out the window.
Light it on fire. That's literally so we're trying to teach him all the things, because those are just, they didn't hurt that bad, because I lived a very charmed middle-class life, but man, those were some, the point is I learned lessons in my 20s and 30s that I should have learned at 16 when they happened, but my parents were so good to me, that I just didn't need for much. Money wasn't something that there wasn't enough lessons in money. So we're trying to teach them. We're trying to teach everybody at an early age.
Yes.
All right. So let's get into it, shall we? Let me get back to my notes here. All right. So you've got some big news coming up in 2025.
Yeah, we got some big things happening in 2025 for sure.
All right. So you've got some big partnerships. Yeah. You want to preview those a little bit?
Yeah. So, one of the things that I've, learned is, you can't do anything by yourself. If you want to expand and you want to grow and you want to get to next levels, you need people in your circle who are helping you get there. And so I've always collaborated, even with when I got started in the lending space. I've had some amazing mentors right from the very beginning. I hired and paid thousands of dollars for mentors to teach me and help me understand, how do I get people approved? What kind of lending is there? How do I get into the banks? Everything that you need to know. I hired and had an amazing mentor who taught me, and I worked with him for a solid year and a half.
Okay.
And Jansen was amazing. And so he helped me like get into the game, right? And so that was where it started. And then you start meeting other people, right? And then you start collaborating with others. So I've learned through that experience, like literally every type of loan that you can now get, right? And so, but an area that I personally never really got into at when I started was the credit repair side of things.
Got it.
Although I knew credit repair was important, I would just say, client comes to me, they want to get a loan. I want money right now, but they hadn't structured their credit profile. So I would, contact my friend and be like, hey, this person over here wants to have, they need to have their credit straightened out, get it done and then send it back. And so that's kind of how I had ran everything at first. And so earlier this year, I had, thought, I really was like, okay, I need to be able to provide the solution on a better level. So I partnered with a company, a credit money company that actually offers AI software, and started working with them and the software. And I met, my soon to be official partner in this new venture that's coming, who actually had a credit repair company for the last 6 years. And she's an incredible wealth of knowledge as well, a beast in the industry, and super excited to have been collaborating with her this year. And then to take it a step further, one of the things that my goal is to help people get as much money as possible. In all honesty, like now, I'm like, hey, we're going to build out your business credit. I started in business credit. I was doing business credit all day long, and I could help them build the business credit. And then we could go to the banks and get bank lines of credit, which is what the goal was, or maybe a term loan, or we could do an SBA or a combination of all of them. I also did a lot of MCAs, so merchant cash advances, and that's kind of where I started in the industry.
Stay there for a minute. Merchant cash advances. What does that mean?
So a merchant cash advance is kind of like a payday loan. You know, when you go right now and you get a payday, you just go to the payday loan and they use your W-2s or your pay stubs, and they give you a loan based off of that, and then you got to pay it back in 2 weeks or whenever your next payday is. So a merchant cash advance is that same type of thing. The difference with a merchant cash advance between a traditional loan is, on a merchant cash advance, it's a shorter term. So first of all, it's only good for 8 to 9 months. It generally has to be paid back. It's based off of a factor rate, not an interest rate, and it's based off your deposits. So if you have $20,000 a month coming in every single month, you can qualify for one of those loans and you can get funded in 24 hours.
Okay.
The downside to it, though, is it's expensive money. Because it's quick money. Any quick money is expensive money. But it does work for people who are like, hey, I got to hit payroll this week and I need to figure this out right now.
Right.
So that's where I started, was helping people, figure immediate cash flow needs. The part that I wanted to start expanding out of, though, was because of the reason it being so expensive, is that people get swallowed up in that. So now you've got a weekly repayment or a daily repayment on these loans.
Yeah.
So every day the money's coming out of your account. So it's eating up your cash flow.
Yeah.
So then I had to take it from another level and be like, okay, well, how are we going to get you out of this MCA? Right. And so then I would literally be like, okay, I got to get them out of the MCA. So then we're looking at assets. What kind of real estate do you own? So we can pull from real estate, or maybe we can build your business credit and pull you and get you a line of credit. And so the combination of all of it, I was able to help a lot of clients then get out of the MCAs as well and refinance those into traditional types of loans. It does not happen overnight. We had to structure all of that. But understanding the availability of all of that was, really, really important. And so that was kind of where it started. And then to get to where we're going in the venture, though, is, I'm helping them get as much money as possible.
Yeah. And
what do you do with it once you get it?
Boom. Boom.
And so, I, thankfully, this year, 2024 for me was a year of collaboration. It was a year of meeting amazing connections. I'm forever thankful for all the connections I've met this year. Jeff, the entrepreneur down in Florida, is an amazing connector. And I started working with him over the summer. And so, thankfully he, invited me to go to the event in Cabo where I met Ami and the whole X-Pro team. And guess what? They're an investment firm. So it worked perfectly with my whole entire mission already, which was to help people get, what do you do with the money once you get the money,
That's
right? And so now we have, once you get it, you can invest it and you get 5% every single month return on that money guaranteed.
Okay.
And so it's literally like a place for you to plug the money and make it an ROI. And so it's a whole big, big circle.
Yeah.
We got to have the credit, we need to have the funding, and we need to have the investing. And so we've got it all.
There's again, my dad always says that I don't think outside the box. I don't know there is a box, right? So I love being around people like that. And literally, folks, the value of a podcast, right? So on top of having the world's greatest audience and everything else, I learn all the time. And Amy was telling me something in pre-production that makes total sense. It seems like it should be common sense. I had never thought of it before, right? So literally, she was telling me back there, she's like, "Oh yeah, you can buy older companies with good track records." So, dude, tell them. All right, so I just seriously, hold on. Let me preface this for a minute, folks. You want to work with people like Amy. You don't necessarily need to know everything that she's doing. You just got to know enough about it to know she's making the right decisions on your behalf, and you got to let that pony run. You know what I'm saying? So, literally, these are the things that get me excited. Okay, so she's back there and she's telling me about this is ways that we get businesses funded. I'm like, I've never even thought about that before. Do tell.
All right, so we get really creative, and it really does start, like I said, with the credit. We got to have your personal credit profile strong, which we help whatever we got to do. If we got to get rid of stuff, we'll get rid of stuff. If we got to add stuff, we're going to add stuff. So the personal credit profile, we get it where it needs to be. But then we also need to build business credit. But kind of there is a trick to that where you can purchase and it's called an aged corporation. So we buy a corporation that's 5 to 10 years old. It's already seasoned, no history though. There's not been anything necessarily done on that company. It's just a shelf company is what we call it. But when you buy that corporation and we build the corporation out, we build it out by adding business trade lines onto that. So you can get primary trade lines. And I've got the plug in the United States, the best ones that actually put these trade lines into the corporation that are real. They stay forever. So now you have a 5 to 10-year-old corporation that's showing $200,000 in revenue that it's done in the past. It's had, not revenue, but a loan of $200,000. We build out all the financials on it, making sure that it's financially and it's all legal. There's nothing illegal about any of it. It's all legal. We build the financials, put the whole thing together, and then now we have a corporation that has strong financials, it's aged, and it shows that it's had debt paid off before. So we can take that corporation and we can get that corporation funded pretty much immediately within 45 to 60 days it takes to get that thing built out.
Folks, this is why you got to have specialists in your army. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm coming to Amy and I'm needing an investment, I'm needing access to some money, it's because there's something that I need to do. I need to use it to grow. Okay, so which is why I would be a good bet for Amy, because I'm going to grow and then return that money from the growth that I made, right? So
exactly. And so the key is then, so when you get one of those age corporations and you get it built out, for example, just on that, and there's lots of ways, but this is just one of the ways, right? And so when you build a corporation at that level, though, you can generally get at least $350,000 on up to maybe $1 million on your first round of funding. And so somebody who comes in and buys that age corporation and they get $350,000, it's not to go buy a car and to go buy maybe 2 cars. You don't just go blow it. You want to take $100,000 of that or $200,000 of it and invest it into a vehicle like what we have as far on the investment side. I mean, think about $200,000 investment. Now, if you invested in the vehicle that we have and you're getting a 5% return residual income on that every single month, that money's sitting there. Don't go nowhere. Your $200,000 is sitting there, but every month you're getting a $10,000 check. So at the end of the year, you've made how much money on that? $120,000?
Yeah.
So you've got a 60% return on the money. Now you've got $120,000. That's just money that you now have. And your $200,000 is still accessible at the end of the year. So you can do it again and again and again. I have a little lady.
Wow.
I'll tell you about a story of a lady that I helped in a minute, but yeah.
Do tell this. I'm intrigued. You got me. I'm in.
Yeah. So I have a little lady, she's 70 years old. I've been working with her for a little while, and she came to me wanting to invest. She wants to invest. She was already investing. She has an ROI. I'm sorry. She has an annuity that $300,000 is in the annuity.
Yep.
And she's got rental property that's worth $800 to $1 million. That is, free and clear.
Yep.
And then she has another property that she owns that's worth about $800,000 and only owes $100,000 on it.
Wow.
Right. So she come to me, and we also do 0% interest funding. Okay. So that's another play. And that's kind of the goal is to get as much 0% interest as possible so that you can do these types of investments without paying any interest on it. But to do that, you need to have a business, to get the most money. And she didn't want to do all of that. She had a great credit profile. She had over a 700 credit score, but it wasn't real strong. She just had kind of what we call a light profile, meaning that she has maybe 3 credit cards and a car payment, and she had her house. So it's not a lot. It was enough that we could have got her a little bit, but to get the hundreds and 200s of thousands, we need to really build that profile. But with the assets that she had, we went and sorted it out. And I was like, okay, well, you have this rental property. So, what we could do is we can do a HELOC, which I can help with HELOCs and real estate. We can do a HELOC on your property, either your primary residential, or we can take your commercial property that you have, and I can help you do a refi. We could just finance that property. We can pull that money, that equity that you have on this home. Your payments are going to be maybe $4,000 a month. We put it on a 15-year term, normal rates, not that big of a deal. But we're going to take that money and we're going to invest it. And so she's like, okay, well, my annuity is not really making as much money as the 5% would. She's like, so let me pull my annuity also. So she's pulling, we're in the process right now. We're finishing it. She's pulling her $300,000 from her annuity, and we're going to pull about $600,000 equity out. She's going to pull a total of $700,000, and we're going to put it in the investment, which is going to yield her $35,000 a month on that money. And she is happy as ever.
I bet.
The Hitstreak is powered by our partners at HitLab Creative Studios. Whether it's launching your brand new podcast, rebranding your current podcast, or taking advantage of any of their other content packages specifically for your social media needs, the HitLab is a one-stop shop for you. Visit hitlabstudio.com for more.
That was how Rand and I used to say that all the time. It was like every dollar we have is a soldier, and their job is to go out and bring back another soldier. You know what I mean? So, and I never will forget. I guess it was I've said 23 before. It was actually 2022 when was the first time that we had ever made more not working than we did working.
Yeah.
And that is my definition of freedom.
Yeah.
That was awesome. You know what I'm saying? That was literally life-changing. That was security. Like at the end of the day, we all just want to feel secure.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, money, and this is something that Bradley taught me years ago, and people hate it when I talk about this, so I'm gonna talk about it. All right.
Right.
So he was basically said, if you make $20,000 a month or $250,000 a year, $250,000 a year, you can basically make regular decisions for your family without considering money, right? So like, and this is just a basic question. Like, folks, check it out. If money wasn't an option, would your kids still be going to the same school, right? Would you still be driving the same car based on whatever safety features are important to you if money wasn't an option? Where would you live? What county would you live in if money wasn't an option? And for me, what means for my definition of success right now is that I can make decisions for my family, the best decisions, without money being the limiting factor.
Yep.
Right? And imagine if that's the world that everybody could live in.
Yeah, financial freedom.
Yeah. How many more marriages would still be together? Right? How many more business partnerships would still be around? Like, think about all, like, when you look at all the bad relationships, the severed relationships out there, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would say most of them have to be over money. Right? And gosh, like you've said 2 or 3 things today that I remember when we went, when we closed businesses or failed in the past, if I'd have known somebody like you, what you could have done in those situations. So I don't want it to be heard today that, hey man, if your business is in the gutter, call Amy, right?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge.
But for real, I want one of the most important things that can happen is the person that you are most that you can help the most, that they know who they are, that they can say, oh, she's talking to me.
Yeah.
So like when it comes to like you're the perfect customer for you. So like, let's just talk about the Hit Lab for a minute.
Okay.
We deal with a lot of folks that have, all businesses have a marketing problem. All businesses have a lead problem. And because they all want to grow. And, so in the beginning, when the Hit Lab first started, we were taking on startups, and that made things really, really hard versus a business that's done great in other verticals, but they haven't learned to market themselves online yet. Right. So, somebody like the founder of Ateamamy, somebody that's crushing it, that's just like, yeah, man, the next step in my journey is to start crushing it on social and whatnot and digital marketing. Right. So you are the perfect avatar currently for Hit Lab Creative Studios. Right. So who is the perfect avatar for Amy Mauk and A-Team Solutions?
So
or Ateamamy, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So the perfect avatar, I mean, you can call it A-Team Solutions. We're solution bound all the way around, whether it's titanium, Kamboj, mother motivation. That's the secret behind all of us, is we're all solutions based. But the overall, what was I going to say?
The person, like, who's the person like that when they, oh my gosh, like that's like, it was kind of like in the world of insurance when the family of 6 walked in and they were all incredibly healthy and they made $200,000. And like, you're like, oh yes, this is my favorite kind of client.
Yep. No, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows me knows that you got to remind me. But
well, dude, that's what critical thinkers do. They're always moving,
Yeah. So the perfect client, honestly, right now, the perfect client would be somebody who they already have over a 700 credit score. They understand credit. Their credit profile is in good shape. They already own a business. I believe everybody should own a business. Everybody should start their own name as a business, if nothing else, and brand themselves.
Come on.
Yeah. So everybody should own a business. There's so much, just advantages to that.
Yeah.
So they already own a business. Maybe they've owned that business for at least 4 years. They have great financials. And it's a cash flowing or, a business that's doing great. That's a perfect candidate because we can actually really expand that. That's one side. But the other side is also somebody who's just wanting to get started. They want to know, you know what? I don't have a business right now. I don't really understand credit, and I want to build. And they're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
Meaning they know it's going to take 6 to 12 months, but they start right now. They want to buy a house. They want to start a business. They want to be an entrepreneur. They want to get access to capital. Those are also our avatar on another side that we can truly help in every single aspect of that, and building somebody to watch them blossom in that. So the person that's, okay, I'm already there and I just want to know, how do I go bigger and I want to go more, then we can take them and we can really excel what they already have by the investment side and building it bigger, getting them more access to capital, using what they already have and leveraging it, and then putting that thing in an investment vehicle like what we have access to that's going to give them a 5% return. And then the brand new person that says, hey, you know what? I'm not there yet, but I want to get there. Teach me your ways. So that's the other ones.
That's fantastic. Like there's so many directions that we could go with this. Like, and I'm just, because of the common threads, I'm immediately thinking like, let's just take those big MLMs, those big sales forces of 1099 agents and stuff. Knowing what you know now, what would those startup agencies be doing? But because again, they're all cash strapped. I'm so glad you said that, because I was actually thinking about that when we were talking about the agents. When I was running through the insurance and I was bringing these folks in, a majority of them were having a hard time to come up with the $350 that they needed just to get their license. Yeah. Right. Had I knew all this knowledge that I've learned now, I could literally, we did say, hey, go get a credit card. We would say, hey, go put it on a credit card and maybe open them one. But had I know what I know now, I could have literally really helped each one of those agents understand, by analyzing their credit profile and seeing what we could do to get them in a position where we could have got them maybe $10,000 to really get a good jump start
out the gate on their insurance career, which would have changed a lot of their lives, because that was one of the tough challenges with insurance is, out of the 4,000 people that I think I recruited through the agency, 50% of them right off the bat never even made it to licensing.
Yeah.
Right. And so then you have 50% that made it to licensing, and another 25% that didn't pass. Then you have another, 25% that are, there, and they're like borrowing their last $350 to get started. But had I had this resource available and I knew this knowledge, then I could have helped every single one of those individuals, at least within 60 days, do something within their credit report or somehow find access to some capital to help them, better their career.
Yeah. And even like in our model, and all the leadership or management that we had, and, they were investing into those folks as well. And like, so again, what we're talking about, folks, is access. It's access, right? So, folks, check it out. We're hanging out with the Amy Mauk, the freight train, as we used to call her. And that's because she moves, baby. There's nothing that she's not going to bust through. She's the founder and CEO of Ateamamy, Titanium Capital Solutions, and Titanium Business Solutions. Folks, check her out online. ProfitsWithAteamamy.com, TitaniumSolutions.com, on social, Ateamamy, Titanium Solutions, and on Facebook at Amy Mauk. Ethan, you're getting ready with your question? You taking some notes over there, baby? He's going to blow it out the water here in a little bit. All right, you got a few minutes. Cool. So at the end of the day, okay, and Amy, there's going to be, there's the folks out there that are going to say credit cards are bad, right? You're going to get yourself into trouble. All debt is bad, okay? But folks, even Dave Ramsey isn't talking to Jeff Bezos, okay? Like there's Dave Ramsey has a specific audience that he's talking to, right? So, and if you are that audience, he's probably speaking a lot of truth, right, that you need to pay attention to. But it's not for every single person, right? At the end of the day, access is key. The people that have the most in this world have access to the most money, whether they have it or people will give it to them, or loan it to them.
Yep.
Right. So, at the end of the day, you want your financial credit profile to be a green light for access to funds when you need it. You might not need it, but when you do, wouldn't it be good to have it? And wouldn't it be good to know in enough time that you're not getting bent over the barrel to borrow money for 2 weeks or something like that? You know what I mean? So, and I can't even remember the name of the company. There's a company out there that at one point in time, we had a company that was in tough shape, and we needed an injection quick. I wish I'd have known that you were doing this stuff.
Yeah.
This is probably 6-7 years ago. And I don't even remember the name of the company. If you said it, you probably will. But like the interest rate was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it was a one-word company. Everybody knows. You've seen the ads all over the place. But I can't remember what it was. But like the interest was horrible.
Yeah. It was probably an MCA more than likely. If it was something that was definitely going to fund in 24 hours, it was for a business, it had to be more than likely an MCA.
Yeah.
And the interest rates on those, like I said, they're factor rates. So it's like, if you borrow $30,000, you're paying back $50,000 on that money, and it has to be paid back in 8-9 months sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's a weekly payment or daily repayment. And so the terms are not that great either. But people will take them sometimes because they need that cash injection, and it saves their business at the moment. So as long as they use it properly and they get the proper ROI out of it, it works. But where people get hung up on those is that they maybe take too many, or they don't use it properly. They don't use it for ROI. They use it for some other reason. And then now they can't keep up with the payments. It's eating up all their cash flow. And so those people,
Was it Cabbage? Is that the name of the company? Cabbage? Was it Cabbage?
Oh yeah. Cabbage is one.
Cabbage is what high rate. That's what it was.
Cabbage is an MCA company.
Yeah.
100%.
It was Cabbage. And I can just remember like, we need the money bad. And I was like, I can't bite that bullet.
Yeah. The Cabbage is an MCA. Yeah. So absolutely. I started out in the industry, helping with those, and, I still do today, but not as much. Now I really focus on really helping people. And the goal is to get them into that 0% interest funding place so that they can invest, so going into 2025, the partnership that, we're creating, between, Kamboj Ventures and Mother of Motivation is going to be domination of 2025 in the financial industry. We're going to help, the goal is 100,000 families become financially free.
Wow.
Between our, lending and our investing. So, we want to help people come through. We want to help them find the funds. We want to help them invest and make sure that they're getting paid every single month out of that. And so I'm super, super excited about the, 2025, and I'm thankful for 2024. I'm thankful for where God brought me. Because had I, none of this would ever be possible had what happened not happened.
Yeah.
And so
that's where I was going next. You've every time, I was telling Ethan's baseball team on Saturday or Sunday at practice, guys, you are constantly going to be reinventing yourself, literally year over year over year over year. And one of the things that we talked about before was, you remember when your kid graduated kindergarten, they had this big, it looked like a dang graduation, and then now you're in first grade, second grade, third grade, all the way. Now you're in college, freshman, sophomore, master's degree, whatever it is. And then you get your job and you stop evolving, right? You went from reinventing yourself every year, right? To now all of a sudden you just stop. And that's been something that has been really important for us is you have to keep pushing yourself forward, getting new knowledge, getting new things. And, I love Robert Kiyosaki and he resonates with me big time. And he says it all the time. He's like, I'm billions in debt, right? But those billions in debt are cash flowing, tax-free and all these things. He knows how to play the system. And check this out too. The education system kind of grooms you to be a great employee. But the tax system was built for the business owner, not for the employee.
Yep.
Right? So that's why when she says everybody should have a business with at least your name, that's what she's talking about. So you can take advantage of you can take advantage of the system. You can play the game.
100%. Absolutely. And, I haven't even touched on the whole real estate side of things. You start adding real estate to your portfolio and you get rentals. You can add those rentals. You can use business money, business capital to actually pay for those housings. And now you have free houses that they're free and clear when you purchase them, right? Because you use business capital to purchase the asset.
Yeah.
The asset's cash flowing. You have a cash flowing asset that now you can place under your corporation.
Boom.
And now you made your corporation worth millions of dollars.
That's right.
And so you just keep going back for more and more money. And the banks will give you money because you've structured everything properly.
That's right. So basically what you're saying is, how, when you're building a home, so much work is done moving the dirt, making the dirt a perfect foundation to build up upon. And so at the end of the day, you're either helping folks build their foundation or their foundation's secure and you're building up.
Yep.
Right? That's what it is
Exactly.
that you do. So going back to reinventing yourself. So again, you've won in multiple verticals and you've won big in multiple verticals. And this is the one I'm so excited for you about because now you're a different, faith-wise, you're a totally different human being than you were, right? So you won before, and it wasn't that you weren't an ethical or good person back then, but now you really have a compass that you're operating by, which you just can't lose.
Yep.
You cannot
100%.
lose. So talk to me about and that was huge for Rhiannon and I. We talk about it big. It's when we found our faith, and literally our faith led to our confidence, and that's who we are today. So talk to me about how by finding your faith, it's made you the person that's just going to keep on winning bigger and bigger, but more importantly, helping other people win.
I just, when, the 2x4 hit me in 2021, when that hit and I had to take a step back and just reevaluate where my life was going. I really spent a good 2 years in prayer, just figuring out what am I going to do now? Right. Because there was a lot of things that were blocking, but during that time, I was just reading different passages in scripture that and studying other people, in in the word, and it made me understand and just learn to heal and let go of things that happened so that I can move forward. And so I had to you can't hold on to anything from your past.
That's right.
And so by finding that faith, it just gave me peace, knowing that, it's going to be okay, wherever I'm supposed to go. And so I remember just being well, if I'm supposed to just sit behind this desk now and help one person at a time instead of hundreds of people, then I guess that's my life now. Right. And I just accepted where I was, knowing that the Lord had me in wherever I was going. And so I then started being like, I really knew that I loved helping a lot of people, and I loved doing it on a mass level, and I loved growing teams and really doing that part of people. That's what I love to do. And the funding was going great. I'm helping people, but at the same time, I was like, one at a time, how can I make this bigger?
Yeah.
And then 2024 really kind of went to a whole nother level because I, partnered with Novae at the beginning of the year, which is a credit money company that's affiliate marketing and network marketing. So it helps the masses understand credit and money and be able to make money inside there, right?
Yeah.
And then I meet people like Benjetta with Mother Motivation, who ran credit for a long time, and then I go and meet, I start working with Jeff, and then I meet Ami, and so it's been an incredible year, which has led to an amazing setup and a partnership that we're putting together for 2025 that we're just going to like explode. And so with that though, God he's it. Like, he's the number one. He's the reason that I do all this. He's the reason that it's to help other people. It's to build his kingdom. And I know when I'm serving others, I'm serving for him.
Yeah.
And so that's really, that just gives me peace, and it makes me feel, worthy again. And we're like, I'm doing something that makes a difference in the world, which is what we're supposed to do.
Absolutely. I had I heard a from the pulpit. I'm going to play a quick little clip in the microphone that I just absolutely love. And it says that basically the title of the message was "God Can't Steer a Parked Car." All right. So let's see. Let me see if I can it's just the very beginning that I love, and I'm going to play it for you right here. So let's.
Hands on the wheel. God just showed me and I'll go. God just showed me and I'll go. Here I am, send me. Show me and I'll go. That's not God's formula, by the way. Genesis 12:1. Will you put it up, please? It says, the Lord has said to Abraham, go from your country, your people, your father's household to the land I will show. You see the difference?
So you got to go for
Yep.
God to show you the way.
And that's exactly right. And sometimes you don't know exactly why you're going or where you're going. You just know
Yeah.
that you're supposed to go. And, and to bring that all together too, I'm very thankful also. I got divorced 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that situation.
Single mom, folks.
Yeah.
Listen up.
And that situation, has come full circle also, where God has gotten back in his life also. And so it's brought, we're really good friends now. And I'm thankful for that, because God worked on him and he worked on me. And now we can come together as, although we're great friends, but we come together really well for our kids, and it works, and so I look back at, what God did in him as well. And I'm just thankful, because it really does make a difference when you put God first everywhere.
I got a quote over here that's basically talking about like the way that you look, the way that you look at your ex-husband. It says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So if you can make yourself see them in a different way,
Yeah.
you're going to see them in a different way. Like,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? So they're going to change. And talk to me a little bit about too, like, man, like when you got hit pretty hard, all right, you got hit pretty hard, and if you can't forgive yourself or let something go, how can you expect anybody else to forgive you and let it go?
Yeah.
It starts with you.
Yeah.
Right. And, I felt like maybe when I was done with baseball, even though I finished and I didn't like, I quit on my own terms. I finished on my own terms. But I still felt like a little bit of a failure, and I carried certain things with me where like, it was almost like I was ashamed of certain things. I didn't want people to know that I'd failed, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. And the moment that I was finally able to be comfortable with myself as the failure, all of a sudden nobody cared. I realized nobody even cared about it.
Yeah. No, it's so true. I mean, that I definitely had all those feelings, especially when all that happened. I was like, oh my gosh, like, first of all, I was like, how did that even happen? And then after I was like, okay, it happened. I look back and, of course there's definitely things I could have done better. I'm not perfect at all. I could have definitely done things better. But had I had to like forgive myself. I had to forgive others. I had to really work through all of that. And that's where, the Lord really helped a lot with that, with the scripture and like helping just understand all of that.
Absolutely. And you can get folks, you can hear the emotion in her voice. This is why everybody needs Jesus, man. You know what I mean? I've never met one person that found Jesus and regretted it.
Right.
But it's a beautiful story. And when we reconnected and I heard all this, it inspired me and changed me. Hey, Ethan, do me a favor. Sneak over there and hand her that right there for me if you would. There you go. So
my fingers usually work.
It's okay. It's good. This is exactly why we do things like this and a show like this, because the courage that you've found and used are perfect for, like, there's so many people that are going through these things. There's so many people that are going through these things. You can take your time here. This is what makes an amazing episode right here, is when you get to the real stuff.
Yeah, but I can't have my makeup messed up on camera.
It's beautiful.
Come on.
Dude, Bobby Pinson sat over there and unveiled his first song in like 15 years, and he sang it on the podcast live. And it was about a relationship with him and his father. And dude, I was over here and I had tears running all down my stuff. So like he finished and it switched back to me, and I've got like paper towels all over me and stuff. And I was like, "Gah." So like again, this is the best part. And a lot of the folks are listening to this, right? They're in their car and they're just listening with this. So, but it's a beautiful thing. And I'm so excited that we had that we experienced that, because you can hear the authenticity, you can hear the care. You could, like, these are the people that you need to be working with, folks. People that have had those that change. The people that have had those. What's the word I'm looking for? The let's just say the aha moment where they truly found their purpose and their calling. That was what Troy was always telling us all the time: is find your purpose, find your purpose, find your purpose. And understand what that is and let that fuel you, So, like Amy, as we get kind of to the close of this episode, and this is also why I waited till the end to kind of get to this, because it's an emotional thing, man. Yeah. But it's beautiful, and I don't know of anybody else that I would trust more than somebody that has had that evolution in their faith and everything else. So it's an absolutely beautiful thing. It's absolutely beautiful. So
the Hitstreak is powered by Team Hyder. Team Hyder has been serving you for 11 years and has racked up over 20 national and local awards for excellence in all areas. When it comes to finding the right health plan, we need to consider your family's needs and your family's budget. That's what we do to serve you. To look further and to book an appointment, visit teamhyder.com.
All right, but let's get back to business for a minute. At the end of the day, like, I love my accountant. She's great. Been with us since like 2016. I don't know half the stuff that she does.
Right.
I don't want to know half the stuff that she does. I technically don't know how my internet works, but I just know it works, and that's good enough for me, right? So I trust my accountant because of the results. I care about the results. So when folks are working with you, they don't necessarily have to know everything you know, right? They just they need to know what you tell them is important, and what they've told you what their targets are, and you're helping them reach those targets, hitting those goals. So, and it's such a cool thing too, because you're helping a lot of people fix faulty foundations that they're building up on, and there's nobody better to help them do that than somebody that's done it themselves.
Exactly.
Right. So, as we bring this sucker to a close, are there any key points that we didn't get to? Anything you want to talk about that's going to be coming in 2025? Any things you're excited about? I mean, we just had a huge election too, by the way.
Oh gosh, yes. I am happy for the election. I'm happy what happened. I do know the next 2 years is going to be a wealth wave. Honestly, like, it is the time right now to jump on board with your finances. Make sure you understand the what you have in front of you. Learn how to invest in real estate. Learn how to invest your money. Learn how to get access to money. Start your business right now. We can definitely help at all those levels. Our new company that we're merging together for 2025, you guys, is going to be amazing. We're going to do everything. We're going to have mass level everything.
Yeah.
And
support everything.
Support. growth, anything that you need. That is what we're going to be here to do. And so I can't be more excited about it, you know,
Yeah.
and I know that, you know, at the same time, it's one of those things where, okay, here we go. It's like, all right, put your seatbelts on, everybody. We don't know where we're going, but we know we're going all the way up.
Yeah.
And we got to put it all together along the way. And so I've been in a lot of those situations where, you know, you just know you're going and the freight train's headed and you got to get to the top of that mountain one way or another. And that's where we're going for 2025. It's another huge venture. And so I'm super excited about it. I would be lying if I didn't say that I wasn't nervous, because I'm always nervous whenever you got to climb a mountain.
Yeah.
But we're going to get there. And I promise we'll
Absolutely.
get to the top.
You know, one of my favorite scenes in the Rocky franchises, when he was talking about, you know, a fighter that doesn't has fear is suspect to get punched. You know, if you have that you can use fear as a tool to motivate you to prepare, right, to be on your toes, be alert, and so on and so forth. Fear is a very powerful tool, and that's where, you know, I think nervousness is just misunderstood excitement.
Yeah.
You know, and which is basically what you just described, right? So again, if you weren't a little bit nervous going into all this stuff, I'd probably be like, man, like she might be exposed a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. But your guard's up.
Yeah.
Your guard's up. Not everything's going to be thought of.
Yeah.
Life is fair. Everybody's price is just different, folks. She's literally like conquering the world one step at a time. And again, everybody, you know, how many single moms out there are, you know, will use that as a crutch for why they can't go out and fulfill their dreams, right? So there's always a way. Amy's a walking testament to that. It ain't easy.
Nope, it's not easy. I could tell you stories about how I made it happen with my kids. Like, even, you know, it's just you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Your kids are thriving.
They're listen. They're right beside me. If we're wherever we are, they're sitting right there waiting for me to get off the phone.
Yep.
They're mom. Wait, I'll be right there. We got to get this done.
That's right. But they're watching all this, and they're learning the work ethic. They're learning they're learning the toughness. They're learning the push. They're learning the drive. They're learning all that. And that, at the end of the day, like when you know that your kids have those things, you won't worry about them as an adult. They'll figure it out.
Right. And I'm so proud of my kids, because they're, you know, my oldest being 17 already, he's already got that work ethic in him. Like, he's already wanting to start his own business. Now he's saying he wants to get into insurance. And, you know, he's, Mom, how can I make a bunch of money? Like, he sees what I've done and what we've done, not just myself, but even his dad now too. Like that, you know, that has been a foundation for him. So like, he's like, where do I go? What do I want to do? You know, how do I do my credit, Mom? Like, he's asking these questions. And so it's great, because, you know, even though it was tough and it's like, oh man, I sacrificed so much by not, you know, giving as much time to my family as what maybe I could have. Like, I literally was like, nope, I would work all day long versus going and seeing my family and being with my family. I literally was not doing any of that. I was working, and I was working to get us to the next level. And I couldn't let up off the gas, because if I let up off the gas, then everything, all the traction that we had goes back. So I could never let off the gas. And so no matter what, I just kept going, and I just looked through it. I'm like, look, they don't understand right now, but in the future they will. And that's right. Where it was.
Life's fair. Everybody's price is different. You were competing with, you know, single people that didn't have kids, that didn't have girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, spouse, or anything. And they could just go 24/7 if they wanted to. And you know, you had to get twice as much done in half the time.
Well, yeah, no, I went 24/7 with them, even no matter what. So I would get up at 7 and I'd work till midnight, 1 o'clock, and I'd have hours at a time where I'd be like, okay, kids 1 hour here, hurry up, go. Kids 1 hour over here, all right, hurry up, go. Or, hey, we're going over here, you guys are coming with me. And it just became a thing. That's just how it was. Like, when they were growing up, because I started in the insurance when my oldest was 5 or 6, I think is when I started in insurance. And so I remember I would run my appointments every 1 hour, and I would take that 1 hour to pick them up from school to get back. And so it's just the way it was.
At the end of the day, too, because there's people that would frown upon that, and I'm like, dude, it wasn't permanent; it was temporary.
Yeah,
it's temporary. And look at all the lessons that they got along the way. You know, so it's all, and it's every family's different, every person's different, every kid's different, everybody's needs are different. You know, and what works. Period. Right. So, big dog, you got one? All right. Well, so listen. So you're going to come over here. Come over here and squat down next to me, right? So you're too big to sit in my lap anymore. Look at you. All right. You got 2 questions.
I do.
You ready? All right. Come on. Into the microphone.
All right. We all know that you have the drive to be a winner. And there's a lot of people in this world that don't have that, but they want to have it, but they don't know how. My question is, how do you stay so competitive, and what do you think is the best way to find that drive for other people and stay consistent with it?
I would say find somebody that you look up to. There's always somebody that you look up to, that you admire, that you want to be like, right? Or that you just wish that you had something that they had. Or so find that person that you look up to, and then find out what they do. How do they do it? Strive to be like them, because that's going to inspire you to be, because you're inquisitive at that point. You're like, man, what does he got? So then you start being inquisitive, and then you start researching, and then you become inspired. And then that's going to create inside of you, those feelings of, oh man, okay, let me just try this. And then you start getting courage, and then you get a little bit of courage, and then you're like, all right, I'm going to go a little bit further. And then next thing you know, you're doing something, and then you see success, and then you get that feeling of, oh, I got a little success, and now you got some adrenaline, right? And so you just keep feeding off of that, and you do it by finding something that you really like, a mentor or somebody that's got something that you want or that just intrigues you, and research it, follow it, reach out to them, and just follow what you like.
Mm. All right. You got a follow up too there, Mr. Reporter?
That was really good. All right. Now, money question for people my age, or maybe a little older, like young adults. There's a lot of people that don't understand money my age. And how would you explain the understanding of money just in any category to them?
So to start with that, I would say to understand money is, first of all, keep track of it and count it, right? So count what you have, but keep it, learn ways that you can take that money and multiply it, right? So if you're counting your money and you've got $2, how can you take that $2 and make it $4? Because if you can multiply your money, then you're going to make more money. But then you save that money and you invest it into something, again, that makes it more money. So really, you got to count your money. You need to know what you have, and then hold that money to invest to make more money. And so really, that's the simple way to start doing it. Without getting into a lot more, but really it's all about it's really about investing it. And how can you duplicate, how can you take $2 and make it $4? How can you make $4 and make it $6 without just spending it, right? Instead of, I want to go out and I want to get me a lollipop today, sacrifice that lollipop. And instead of buying that $1 lollipop, what can I put the $1 in? It's going to give me another $1. And then you got $2. And then in a year from then, you're going to have, instead of $2 and a lollipop, you're going to have $100,000 maybe, or $200,000. And then guess what? You're going to get the biggest lollipop on the block.
So you just got to make sacrifices in order to get what you want.
I have to absolutely make sacrifices.
Attaboy.
You got to make sacrifices.
So, time.
Good questions. Great questions.
He's good, man.
Yes,
he's
very
good.
good.
Time is the only asset that we invest that we don't know the current balance of, right? And I think middle class and below associate money with the amount of time that it takes them to earn that money to buy whatever it is. And everybody above them look at time and money totally, they look at it the opposite, right? And I used to say all the time here that I've always been the richest person in the building. However, Dale's the wealthiest, right? Because Dale has the most time.
Yeah.
He has the most time. And at the end of the day, money is a tool to buy things. And I hope at some point in time in your life, you start buying time with it.
Yes, absolutely. That's really what it's about.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yep. And you got to do that by planning smart, investing, and having that money there later that buys you the time that you can do the things that you want to do. But you got to do it. The best way to do it is just to do it smart. I don't know how else to say. And I'd made a lot of mistakes. Like that was one thing that I wish I would have done better during the whole time at the insurance. Is if I would have had this avenue that I've got right now access to, I would be in a whole different situation. But I learned a lot of lessons. I learned a lot of lessons during that time, and all that money I had, and all that money that went through my hands. If I just had known what I know now, we'd be in a whole different category.
No doubt. So Amy, as we're at the end of this sucker, any final thoughts? Anything else? As we're getting into like 2025 is right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to go through an amazing holiday and Christmas season. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of folks that wake up January 1 every year and they're in the same spot they were the previous year. Mm-hmm. All right. Physically, I hope that's not you. However, financially, it's not gonna be. Amy's gonna tell you how.
Right.
All right. So what would be your final thoughts for everybody in 2025 to be able to take their financial situation, their portfolio, or whatever they want to call it, and grow it?
Start now. Number one, don't wait till January 1st, 2025, because it's going to take, even if you have a great credit profile, there might be something we need to do to the business. There's going to be some sort of structural thing that we probably want to rearrange to get you in the best funding position as far as rates and exactly the type of funds that you can get. So first of all, don't wait till January 2025. Start now. So by the time January 2025 comes around, we're about to be where we can put you into a position. Now, I also recommend getting the business started. Okay. We help get businesses started every single day. It literally takes 2 to 3 days. State paperwork comes back. It doesn't take a long time. It's not rocket science. We tell you how to set up a fundable business, not just any business, but a fundable business. There's high risk industries and there's industries that are, fundable. And so when you start a business, the purpose of the business is, even though you don't think you might not think, and I get this happen a lot too. People think, well, I don't need money right now. Okay. But what about a year from now when you think you might need a credit line? So if you don't think right now today of what you might need for that business financial wise, and you set it up as a high risk industry or, something that's not going to be fundable, then you're going to get yourself in a position where you're not going to be able to get funds on that business just because we didn't structure it properly.
Got it.
So a perfect example of that is Titanium Business Solutions, right? Although I help people with credit in there, if I would have said Titanium Credit Repair, that company would never be fundable.
Right.
But Titanium Business Solutions can do anything.
That's
we
right.
do websites. We could do, entities to developments, but it's not classified as credit repair or anything credit. And I did that on purpose so that business could be structured properly from the very beginning without having any high risk industry. So those things are important.
That's it. Man, you absolutely crushed it, girl. You crushed it. Like this, seriously, man. I love getting to learn from extremely successful people in their spaces and stuff. And I've heard at least 3 or 4 things today. Even though my wife and I study this all the time, I heard 3 or 4 things today for the first time. Right. So
I love that.
That's right. You're welcome, everybody. That's why we do what we do. So step 1 is to start. And the value of the education system in the United States today is it says, hey man, here's a 13-step process or program to get a high school diploma, which makes you somewhat hireable, right? Yep. As an employee in the workforce. Yep. So that's what you're doing for folks is you're basically giving them, here's all this, basically, if you want, if the diploma is your goal, here's the steps necessary to earn one of those. And you're able to do that in the financial space. Yeah.
And I would add to that is, I think one of the biggest other things that people are, they're scared and they're like, oh, I don't want to take a risk. I don't want to go into debt. I don't want to start that business because what if it doesn't happen? But what if it does? Yeah. You can't be scared to take risks. It's at the end of the day, I hate to say it, but at the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen? Yeah. Right. You file bankruptcy. Yeah. Guess what? Do it again. start over.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That's right.
So don't be afraid to take the risk to start the business, to try something different, to learn a new skill. Just learn, just do
That's
it.
right.
Like, so
That's right.
that's a big thing that people are just, I get that a lot. Well, people are like, oh, I don't, man, you're scaring me with staying $100,000. $100,000 ain't shit nowadays.
No, it's not.
It's really not.
Not what it used to be.
Yeah. So, you
Not
know,
in my town.
yeah, no. So you definitely want to make sure that, you know, just take the risk and
That's right.
just do it. It's not going to hurt you.
That's right. And you learn, and they become calculated risks.
Yes.
Right. So that's it. Well, folks, we're hanging out with the founder and CEO of Ateamamy, Titanium Capital and Titanium Business Solutions, Amy Mauk. Amy, any final thoughts, baby? Any final thoughts as we bring it to a close?
Well, you're amazing. I love you and Rhiannon. I love you guys to death. You know, I'm so thankful. I loved you guys all the way back from the very beginning when I met you guys. And so you guys have always been two of my favorites. So I really appreciate you having me on your show. I had a lot of fun today.
That's right.
I'm glad that I could show you something or tell
Absolutely.
you something that I didn't, you know, you never know who doesn't know what they don't know. So
That's right.
You don't know what you don't know unless you just get in there and figure it out, I guess.
You know, and most of what you don't know is just you haven't thought of it yet.
Yeah.
Right. So if somebody's already done the thinking for you, you get to benefit from that.
Exactly.
So it's a beautiful thing. And likewise back at you.
The Hit Streak is powered by Rack Financial. When it comes to your credit card merchant processing, Rack Financial is efficient, reliable, and trusted. At the end of the day, when it comes to processing your credit card payments, they make it simple, the way it's supposed to be. Check out Rack Financial.
Folks, I'm serious. You need to check her out on her socials, on Instagram at Ateamamy and at Titanium Capital Solutions, and on Facebook at her name, Amy Mauk, spelled Mauk. Everything's in the show notes, folks, but she's putting out some dynamite content on Instagram. It's literally like a freaking curriculum for free.
Yep.
With all these tips and tactics of the trade, right? So check her out there, Amy. Thank you so much for the time today. You're a rock star, man. It's just fun to be around people like you.
No, I really, 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 really appreciate you, and thank you. And we're gonna have a lot more fun.
No doubt.
I'm looking forward to the future.
This is part 1. Part 2's coming in 2025 because I want to hear more about this stuff, man. Like, you know what I mean? So get ready, folks.
Yeah.
Part 2's coming in 2025. So, folks, once again, big thanks and shout out to Amy Mauk. profitswithamy.com and titaniumsolutions.com, right? So, profitswithateamamy.com and Titanium Solutions Online. Check her out, folks. Once again, thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Hit Streak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.